Greetings everyone. Let's quickly have a look at Dax40, which is also known as the German index. So we are on the monthly chart, as you guys can see, and we can see that currently we have this candlestick over here. It is this month's candlestick, and at this point in time it is a bearish candlestick, and it seems to be rejecting at that level more or less. And I think that is also because we actually had a very strong level of resistance at this level over here more or less, and this will be better visible as we head down to the smaller time frames. And what may actually happen is that should this current monthly candlestick close as a bearish candlestick, chances are that price will move further down, perhaps to this level, because it is a very strong level of support, and at this level it may potentially push further up, or it may push further down to around this level to test that level as well, right? Nonetheless, let's proceed. I'm just going to head down to the weekly chart, and here we are on the weekly chart. So let's have a look. What do we see on the weekly chart? On the weekly chart, we have this candlestick over here. It is a liquidity candlestick, which means that we have a whole lot of liquidity stuck at this level, and the market at one point or another needs to grab that liquidity. And this could be what's actually happening at this point in time, that the market is coming down to test not only this area over here, which is a very strong area of support, but to also grab the liquidity that's at that level over there, right? So what else do we see on the weekly chart of Dax40 that we should be paying attention to? Let's have a look. Let's see. We can also see that we had what seems to be a gap in this region, and there may still be a gap at that level. However, that area will be better visible as we head down to the small time frames. But for now, let's just keep in the back of our minds that we may possibly have a gap here, and just remember that gaps are also liquidity areas, and at one point or another they have to be filled by the market. In fact, before we continue, I'm just going to mark that liquidity candlestick at the bottom because it's very much important. Just bear with me while I do so. Okay, here we go. There goes the area that's carrying all of that liquidity. So what else do we see on this chart that we should be paying attention to? Just also bear in mind that previously I'd spoken about the fact that we have this very nice M structure over here with a neckline at this point over here, and I'd said that because price had broken the neckline to the bottom side and had headed back to the neckline to test it, we should have possibly been looking for selling opportunities at this point over here, right? And that's also confirmed by the fact that we had this candlestick pattern over here, which is a railroad pattern, right? It's a reversal candlestick pattern, and it confirmed this move actually to the bottom side, right? And that's these two candlesticks right at the top there, right? I hope that makes sense. Anyway, let's proceed. So what else do we see on this particular chart, which is the weekly chart of Dax40 that we should be paying attention to? I don't see anything further, so what I'm going to do now is head down to the daily chart. Let's see, daily chart. Right, here we are on the daily chart. The first thing that I'm going to do in regards to the daily chart is add my daily channel. So just bear with me while I do so. Let's see. Here we go. More or less. Just bear with me, guys. I just also want to make sure that my lines are as accurate as can be, just to ensure that at the end of the day, when we do ultimately execute, our execution is also as accurate as possible, right? Okay, there we go, more or less. Okay, so here we are on the daily chart, right? So on the daily chart we can see that we also had a very nice double structure over here with a neckline at this point. Price broke the neckline to the upside, then came down to retest the neckline, and we would have looked for buying opportunities at that point, as the anticipation was for price to move further up, right? So we saw that price came down again to test this neckline rather, which was a very strong area of support, and we can see that that area failed to hold price at that level, as we saw the market closing below that level, right? So what else do we see on this chart that we should be paying attention to? As much as we had that W structure, we also had what seems to be an inverted head and shoulders pattern in that region, with a neckline being at more or less this level over here. So when it comes to, sorry, it's not an inverted head and shoulders pattern, it's a head and shoulders pattern, sorry, excuse me. Anyway, when it comes to these patterns, ideally we would love to see price break to the bottom side of that neckline, and then head back up to test the neckline, and this is where we would look for possible selling opportunities. And that's exactly what happened at this point, more or less. If you look at it, we saw price breaking to the bottom side and then going up again to test it, and we might see it push further down to this level, which is that level that I spoke about, which is carrying all of that liquidity, and it's also a very strong level of support. To add to that, because we had this very nice W structure over here, remember that when it comes to W structures, a lot of traders and investors buy on that second leg of that W and place their stop losses just below that W structure. So there's a whole lot of liquidity that's sitting at this level. Number one, because of those stop losses that are at this level due to this W formation, right? And number two, this candlestick over here, which is carrying all of that liquidity, right? Yeah, and yeah, that is it. Yeah, so essentially what I'm saying is that there's a lot of liquidity at this point, and the market needs to grab the liquidity, and we might see price actually push to this level to grab the liquidity, right? Anyway, let's proceed. Is there anything else of value or interest that we see on this chart? I don't see much really, although I will also mention that at this point we have a gap. It is also a liquidity area, and it needs to be grabbed by the market at one point or another. So it may happen that the market may push to this level to grab the liquidity that's stuck at this level, and then push further up to also grab the liquidity at this point, and this would actually form a very nice W structure if you look at it closely. Anyway, I'm just speculating at this point in time. I'm not saying that the market will unfold in this manner. I'm just showing you what could possibly happen. Anyway, let's proceed. So from here, I'm just going to head down to the H4 chart, seeing that I don't see anything else of value in regards to the daily chart of Dax40. Let me just fix my lines. Just bear with me. Okay, there we go, more or less. There we go. That should be fine. So here we are on the H4 chart. What do we see on the H4 chart that we should be paying attention to? In fact, before we proceed, I'm just going to start by adding my channel as well. Just bear with me. Here we go, here we go, here we go. There we go. There we go. Right. Yeah, so what do we see on this chart that we should be paying attention to? I see that we have this candlestick over here, right? It is also a liquidity candlestick, and it tells me that the market needs to come down to that level at one point to grab that liquidity, right? So what else do we see? So on the daily chart, I'd spoken about that huge head and shoulders pattern, right? And I said that the neckline is at this level more or less. So we saw price pushing down or breaking that neckline and then heading back to test that neckline, and the expectation is for it to push further down. So today we should have looked for selling opportunities at this point more or less, because that's the neckline of this head and shoulders pattern rather, right? And I think that now that we are on the H4 chart, our first take profit should have been at least, I'd say, this level over here. This level over here should be our first take profit, and our second take profit should be around this level over here, right? And that is because this level over here seems to be a strong area of support as well, right? And just remember that support and resistance are not lines, they are areas, right? So that is it as far as my analysis goes of Dax40. At this point in time, I don't see any selling or buying opportunities, just based on how things look at this point in time. Nonetheless, just to emphasize, my bias is for price to come to this level to grab the liquidity that's sitting over there, and that is because, as I said, we have that huge inverted head and shoulders pattern, and we saw price coming back up to test that neckline, and we should have looked for selling opportunities at this point and expect price to push further down to at least this level. Just also bear in mind that things may not necessarily unfold in the manner in which I'm describing, as the market is quite volatile and is also controlled by fundamentals. Nonetheless, we will see how things unfold over the next coming days and perhaps the next week or so. Anyway, that is my analysis, and peace out.